We've got some breaking news of more arrests of corrupt Democrats all across the country. The Trump Justice Department has started ramping up, and they are not slowing down. In just the last few days, we've got Democrat mayors, state representatives, county executives, councilmen, and even a U.S. representative all facing the justice we voted for in November 2024. Stick to the very end of this video because it's not just a list of corrupt Democrat officials that keeps growing. It's a list of arrests and convictions as well. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else, so make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, the headlines are built to keep you anxious, distracted, and exhausted. You do not have to live that way. My free Patriot Alerts gives you the stories that actually matter and what they mean for you and your family without spending all day chasing the news. Click the link below. It's free. It takes about 60 seconds, and I'll help you stay clear on what matters. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. It's astonishing stuff. This is what we voted for. Democrats across the country continue to get arrested, indicted, and indeed convicted for all kinds of fraud and corruption. Let's go to the Democrat mecca of Massachusetts. In the city of Lawrence, Democrat Mayor Brian DePena was arrested for allegedly stealing over $1.5 million in COVID relief money. DePena was indicted on 11 federal counts, 4 counts of wire fraud and 7 counts of money laundering, for allegedly obtaining over $1.5 million in COVID-era economic injury disaster loans for his tire and auto business. Prosecutors say he funneled that taxpayer money into his own political campaign, his personal tax payments, and over $880,000 in high-interest mortgage payoffs on his own properties. And he now faces up to 20 years per wire fraud count and 10 years per money laundering count. And he wasn't alone. We now have a second Massachusetts Democrat swept up in this very same scandal. Federal prosecutors have indicted Massachusetts State Representative Francisco Paulino, who represents the very same district, the 16th Essex District. Paulino was hit with an 11-count indictment, 8 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering. Are you seeing a pattern here? I mean, it all started with Elon and Doge uncovering the cesspool of money laundering through USAID, where tax dollars by the hundreds of millions were making their way every year into the pockets of left-wing activists all across the country. This is the bread and butter of the Democrat Party. Make no mistake of it. They feign compassion in order to dip their hands into taxpayer money, into your money. It's beyond vile. But, gang, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Let's head on over to New Mexico, because this is one of the biggest Democrat corruption convictions we've seen all year. The former New Mexico House Majority Leader, you heard that right, the former House Majority Leader, Cheryl Williams Stapleton, was just found guilty on every single count she faced, 37 felony charges in total. That includes conspiracy to defraud the United States, 5 counts of federal program bribery, 13 counts of mail-in honest services fraud, 3 counts of falsifying her tax returns, and 9 counts of money laundering. The scheme is almost jaw-dropping in its simplicity. So while serving as career and technical education director for Albuquerque Public Schools and as a sitting state representative, Stapleton allegedly she's just found guilty of steering roughly 40% of the district's vocational education funding, over $3 million tax dollars, to a company called Robotics Management Learning Systems. No, not Learning Systems, although I'm sure it could have been. It was owned by her close friend Joseph Johnson, and in exchange, prosecutors say Johnson handed her blank checks that she wrote to herself, totaling more than $1.1 million straight into her own pocket. Johnson, too, was convicted right alongside her. He's looking up, I think, like 515 years in prison. Stapleton's facing up to 524 years in prison. And she still has a separate state trial coming up in October on racketeering and additional fraud charges. Now, over to Missouri, where Jackson County's own interim county executive just got indicted trying to rig his own election. I kid you not. A Democrat rig an election? Oh, I'm appalled. Phil Lavoda was hit with a 5-count federal indictment for honest services fraud, federal program bribery, 2 Travel Act violations, and lying to federal agents. Prosecutors say that back in March of this year, Lavoda cut a deal with a rival candidate offering him and an associate cushy full-time county government jobs if he'd simply drop out of the race for the very office Lavoda was occupying. Call me shocked. Down in Mississippi, we got Columbus Vice Mayor Joseph Mickens, a 15-plus year Democrat city councilman, indicted for laundering money and rigging a city contract bid. Investigators with the Mississippi State Auditor's Office say Mickens worked out a deal with a local HVAC contractor named Marcus Dawson. Mickens would help steer flooring contracts to himself, even though he wasn't legally eligible to receive them. And in return, Dawson would get future city HVAC contracts, plus cash kickbacks the two allegedly worked together to hide. Mickens is facing up to 30 years in prison and over $500,000 in fines. And then, of course, there's Jersey. What would Democrat corruption be without Jersey, where Lumberton Township Committee woman Gina LaPlaca and her husband Jason Carney are accused of an old school ballot scam? Again, can't believe it. Forging voters' signatures on her own nominating petition. Investigators say multiple people whose names showed up on the petition told prosecutors they never signed it, never authorized anyone else to sign for them. I thought this didn't happen. New Jersey Democrats have assured me this never, ever, ever happens. Meanwhile, in Georgia, we've now got a third Democrat state lawmaker pleading guilty to pandemic fraud this year. Representative Sharon Henderson admitted to lying about her employment status to fraudulently collect nearly $18,000 in COVID unemployment benefits and filing false certifications even after she was sworn into office. But we're now getting even better news breaking with my all-time favorite Democrat indictment, which comes up next. The media is more interested in steering perception instead of simply reporting facts. Now, the good news is that millions are realizing that our news is broken, but they don't know where to turn for reliable headlines. Well, luckily, there's a solution that helps you see exactly what's being emphasized, ignored, or spun. Ground News pulls headlines from over 50,000 news sources and makes it easier to understand what's actually happening. I mean, you could see the political bias of each outlet, insights like reliability and outlet ownership, and how coverage breaks down across the spectrum. That's why over 1 million people have downloaded Ground News. Check it out for yourself at ground.news/Steve. Now, my favorite feature is the blind spot feed. It shows you which stories are blowing up on one side of the aisle but barely mentioned on the other. It's the clearest way to see media bias in action. So, for example, here's a story completely ignored by the left. President Trump has reportedly told donors that J.D. Vance will indeed be his successor. I mean, the media can't stomach that, so they're ignoring it. Now, of course, the right has its blind spots too, but now you'll know. With every story, Ground News shows you the entire spectrum of who's reporting from left, right, and center, how reliable each source is, and who owns each outlet. It's everything the corporate press doesn't want you to see. Right now, you can get 40% off the Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to all the features that I personally use for about $5 a month. Just visit ground.news/Steve, click the link in the description, or scan the QR code. That's ground.news/Steve. New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver. You remember her, right? She was charged with assault by the DOJ over her infamous scuffle with ICE officers at Delaney Hall Detention Facility back in May of 2025. Well, a federal appeals court just rejected her attempt to get her assault charges thrown out. The Third Circuit ruled 2-1 that her conduct was, quote, unambiguously non-legislative, meaning that she can't hide behind the privilege of speech or debate clauses for her charges. That's what she was trying to do. She was trying to argue that her assaulting an ICE officer was basically an extension of her activities as a congresswoman. So it looks like accountability is finally coming for this repulsive woke Democrat, as it is for all of these Democrats. Make no mistake, for decades, America's political class built something far more durable than any single scandal. They built a two-tier system of justice, engineered by the very people it was designed to protect. They wrote the rules, they staffed the agencies meant to enforce the rules, and then quietly they made sure those rules bent whenever one of their own got caught in the machinery. A senator could sit on a stock tip, a cabinet official could shred a subpoena, a mayor could funnel disaster loans into his own mortgage and call it constituent services. And when the dust settled, there was always a settlement, a delay, a technical dismissal, or a media cycle short enough to bury it before anyone noticed. That wasn't an accident. It was architecture. But architecture cracks when the foundation shifts. And the foundation has shifted. With the coming of Trump's second term, what we're watching now, arrest after arrest, indictment after indictment, isn't chaos, and it's certainly not cheap political retribution like the legacy media wants you to think, because after all, they're part of the machine. No, it's the slow, grinding collapse of an immunity system that was never supposed to be permanent, just permanent enough to outlast public attention. For years, insiders priced in corruption as a cost to doing business, a rounding error against the protection their office supposedly bought them. That price just went up dramatically, and now they know it. This is what accountability looks like when it finally arrives, unfortunately late, but it nonetheless has arrived. It's messy, it's overdue, and it's impossible to ignore. Every guilty verdict, every perp walk, every indictment unsealed is a small demolition charge against the idea that some Americans have to answer to the law while others stand above it. The swamp didn't drain itself. It took years of public fury, institutional pressure, and a Justice Department willing to stop looking away. But brick by brick, the wall corrupt Democrats built to protect themselves is finally coming down. And this time, because of what you did in November 2024, it's not going back up. What you're seeing in the news is just a tiny slice of a much bigger story. In my free mini ebook, I show you how this civilizational crisis is actually a turning point and what it means for your family's future. It's short, it's free, and it will change the way you see what's happening around you. Click the link below, grab the ebook, and start seeing this moment through the eyes of faith, not fear.